Manchester United drew with Chelsea 1-1 today at Stamford Bridge, and it feels like a defeat, doesn't it? When you concede an injury time equaliser in the manner that we did, we lead the game, we played so well, we dominated the game, we created so many chances, we had the champions on the back foot from the first minute, and then we come away with only a point. It definitely feels like a defeat. I think if we're judging it harshly, we should have come away with the 3 points. We should be able to close the game out, and we should be able to. If we can't score a second, we should at least be able to hold our lead. We were very good at keeping clean sheets of late, and that let us down today. I think if you're being a bit more even in your analysis of it, you got to think that, well, Gus Hiddink hasn't lost. This Chelsea side are the champions of England, despite the fact that they're so far down in the position they're in. They absolutely smoked the league last year. They're a fantastic side. And I think tactically Gus Hiddink got it pretty right today in terms of the second half. I think the first half and the second half mirrored each other in a very similar way. You're not going to dominate Chelsea for 90 minutes. That's just not going to happen. And anybody who thinks that you can does not understand football. There's going to be a period where we're on top in the game, and there's going to be a period where they're on top in the game, and this is where it counts to be clinical. We saw Arsenal earlier this morning have 2 shots on goal and be 2-0 up at Bournemouth. We didn't do that today. We don't ever generally do that. I think there's only once I can remember us doing that. I believe that was Southampton. Robin van Persie had the only shot on target for United, and we won 1-0. And Southampton battered us. Well, it's time we got being that clinical again. We was on top for the first half an hour, and then towards the second half, Chelsea came back into the game. That's always going to happen with the level of footballer that you've got on the pitch in the Chelsea shirt. The same thing happened in the second half, but in the second half, they brought on Eden Hazard, who, despite the piss taking that we have of him, because he is not the third best player in the world, but he is a fine footballer, let's have no mistake about it. And I think Eden Hazard's substitution to tired Manchester United legs was probably the difference. We made a few substitutions. We took Fellaini off, and Schneiderlin didn't really take presence in the game straight away. Memphis came on with nothing left of the game, essentially. People are saying his mistake led to their goal. I'm not really buying that. Things happen in football games, and you can't point fingers at something that happened minutes ago. No, even if it's over a minute ago. People blaming Cameron Borthwick-Jackson for playing Diego Costa onside. You gotta think of it a little bit more holistically than that. You can't just go, you're the reason that we lost. No, or drew in this case. There's a lot more to it than that. If it's a blatant absolute clanger, then it's a blatant absolute clanger. Memphis does seem to have some mental issues in terms of concentration. I think you should expect that from young lads. I think it's amazing when you have them so composed in the way that Cameron Borthwick-Jackson seems to be. Wingers especially, they're more laissez-faire and creative and a bit crazy sometimes. You can't rely on them. That's why they do get bit parts, and you've got to remember the age of the kid. He's still a very young player. I'm not excusing what happened today. I'm gutted with what happened today. I would have taken the draw earlier in the week, but once you see how we dominated the game, then you think the draw doesn't feel like the correct result. And I don't think we sat back and allowed Chelsea to attack us. I don't think there's any order that ever comes from the bench that goes, sit back and try and hold this lead. I don't think that's in Manchester United's DNA, regardless of who the manager is. I think what happened is Chelsea just came back into their game. They made a couple of decent substitutions that did get them onto the front foot, and that was resulting in chances for them. They had chances all the way through the game, which was De Gea was saving. We had chances all the way through the game, which Courtois was saving. We had the chances to go ahead. Let's not play games. We should have been streets ahead before the 90th minute even arrived. So it hurts. There was a few standout performances today. David De Gea was fantastic. No fault at all for the goal. It's one of those, you can't really help it. Diego Costa's in form. You give him half a chance like that and he's going to put it away, which he did. I thought Cameron Borthwick-Jackson was fantastic, and I think he's going to leave us with a real dilemma once Luke Shaw's fit. And I also want to check, actually, I'm going to have a look, how much difference there is in age between the two of them, because I don't think there's that much, actually. No, we consider Shaw to be older and wiser and more experienced, which he is. But I don't think there's that much in it, and that's sometimes the gift and the curse of coming through at a club like Manchester United if you're Cameron Borthwick-Jackson versus Luke Shaw. If Cameron Borthwick-Jackson was at Southampton now, you would argue that he'd probably be playing week in, week out, and then he would look to be a £30 million player in 12 months' time. That's the issue when you come through at a club like Manchester United. You don't get those opportunities very often. Luke Shaw got those opportunities playing for a lesser club. Come through now, he's this £30 million player who will probably quite rightly go straight back into the team ahead of Borthwick-Jackson. But it's very interesting because they're two different players. Shaw's very much of the dribbling, get to the byline, use his pace and power. And when he cuts inside, it reminds me a little bit of the way Marcelo plays at Real Madrid, where he's very attacking in his nature when he's on the ball. Cameron Borthwick-Jackson is nothing like that. He crosses from deep. He takes his time. He's very composed. You don't really see him charging the way Shaw does. Shaw's a high energy output when he's playing at fullback. Cameron Borthwick-Jackson, his crossing, now don't get these words twisted, but his crossing, the way he crosses from deep and the angle that he puts on him reminds me of David Beckham. Now, don't fucking comment saying that I've just said Cameron Borthwick-Jackson's better than David Beckham. That's not what I said, is it? What I've said is his crossing reminds me of David Beckham, and it does. The way he hits it from deep, takes a touch, rolls it out with his foot, and puts a nice whip on it into the danger area. The difference is, when David Beckham was crossing for us, we had Ruud van Nistelrooy, Andy Cole, and Dwight York firing goals left, right, and centre. We're aiming now, and I think this is a symptomatic problem from the whole team. We're aiming at Wayne Rooney, who, despite the form that he's in, he is not an on-the-shoulder number 9 that's going to look to cut across the front of a defender. So those crosses are generally wasted crosses. I think Martial would probably benefit from them more, but Martial's on the same side as him, so he's never going to be coming across at those balls in from Cameron Borthwick-Jackson. We've definitely got another 5 or 6 weeks of seeing him before Luke Shaw's going to be anywhere near fit and looking to take back his left-back spot. So I hope Borthwick-Jackson's given the chance to develop himself and see what we can get from him, because I think his crossing is really high level and I think it's really dangerous. And the more he plays in the first team, the more the likes of Rooney, maybe Mata if he's playing in the hole, or the opposite winger can come in, because the opposite winger, when you play this 4-2-3-1 system, they have a duty to get into the box to give you numbers when there's crosses going in. And if people are aware of what's happening when Borthwick-Jackson gets on the ball and they know that, 7 or 8 times out of 10, he's going to whip a cross in, he's going to put it in between the penalty spot and the 6-yard box, then forwards can start making runs at that, and that's when you'll start seeing goals coming off it. And I think that's one of the big assets of our team at the moment. And I think we lost a lot of that when we was playing Ashley Young there. I don't like Ashley Young's crossing. I don't like how he cuts back. He offers a little bit defensively, but attacking, I don't think he offers a great deal. I think his crosses are wayward. They're often not very well thought out. And I don't like inverted wingers for crossing. I like inverted wingers if you're Cristiano Ronaldo or Gareth Bale or even Memphis to a degree when he's on form. I like the inverted wingers to come in and go in between the lines and have shots. Very rarely do you see inverted wingers that come in and cross. The crosses work best wide or deep from the byline, or from far out like Borthwick-Jackson's been doing. To cut back and try and cross, you've allowed the defence that extra second to reset. The forwards have to sort of mess around angling the run. It's much easier to go and attack a ball as it's coming round rather than a ball that's coming from behind you and all sorts of stuff. So Borthwick-Jackson, massive improvement on Ashley Young, and I think you've got to give big props to Lou Van Gaal and Cameron Borthwick-Jackson for that performance, or those performances of late. I think you also have to look at Wayne Rooney. Today was great. A good performance, but like I said, sometimes he drifts away, and that's why I don't like him as a number 9. I do prefer him as a number 10. But then you'd have to drop Mata, who was also great today. So you do have an issue with Rooney because I don't think he's an out-and-out number 9. I don't think he gets on the end of stuff as much as he should. He doesn't lead the line in that sense. He does like to roam and move around. Martial still looked our most dangerous player. The saved shot that he had in the first half would have been a hell of a goal if it had gone in. Fantastic save from Courtois, and it still nearly went in. But he faded. And I think it was probably the wrong substitution to take Lingard off late in the game, because maybe after the hour mark, I don't think Martial did too much. Now, I noticed he was getting crowded out a little bit in the first half, and that was giving Cameron Borthwick-Jackson quite a bit of space because the runners was both going with Martial, especially when he cut inside. So I think Martial was done by about the hour mark, and I don't think he really offered us a great deal since then. He had the one chance where he come through the middle, probably on around the 74, 75 mark. But I think as a threat, really, he was probably done. And I think that maybe would have been the time to bring Memphis on and let Memphis have a little bit more. Because 5 minutes, I think you're probably rushing a little bit. And maybe that's what happened with Memphis late in the game with the so-called mistake, which ended up leading towards the Chelsea goal. So where does this leave us now in terms of top 4? Well, the results at the weekend seem bad, don't they? Apart from City's, because basically everyone else has gained. They've all advanced. They've all sort of moved away from us. Manchester City sitting 4th, the closest to us. So we pick up a point on the road at Stamford Bridge. Now, every other season, that's a credible point, and I'm going to say it's a credible point as well today. Now, I think in the next couple of weeks you've got Arsenal playing Leicester, so one of those are going to stall, or both of those potentially stalling and not going to be gaining. I think City play Tottenham soon, or I could have just made that up. I think City are playing Tottenham soon. City have also got a little bit of a run in themselves at the moment, and I do think that there's a real potential for Manchester City to just crumble a little bit now. They might regain it, but I do think that there's going to be a slump for City. I think when we saw what happened with Alex Ferguson in 2002 when he said he was going, it was just an inexplicable dump in performances from what was a fantastic Manchester United side, and we didn't recover, and Arsenal won the league. Now I think the stakes are a little bit higher at the moment because of all the teams that have to play each other. And we have to play Arsenal in a week and a half, 2 weeks. There's all the opportunity for the top 4, the top 6 to be taking points off each other. And I think if we take some points, especially if we take points off Arsenal, this top 4, top 5 is going to be so close that I don't think top 4 is out of the question for us at the moment. Certainly not. But we do need to pick up 3 points against Sunderland. That's an absolute must. And I do think we should pick up 3 points against Arsenal. A draw is not the end of the world at home to Arsenal, dependent on other results. But we really should be looking at 6 out of 6 for these next 2 games. And then we just have to just keep looking around us and see what's happening, because everybody is dropping points left, right and centre. So let's just see how we go. Sunderland, we need to get back on the 3-point train, and then Arsenal, we need to put it on them and try and overturn that scoreline from earlier in the season, from October at the Emirates. If we do that, then I think there's a very good chance we're going to sneak into that top 4. And the crazy thing is, it could be Manchester City that drop out. Tottenham look strong. Leicester look like they're going to win the league. And I think everyone in the top 4, top 5, maybe even top 6 are going, if we're not going to win it, I hope Leicester win it. And I hope Leicester win it. We're not winning it this year. And out of all the rest of them, I don't want anybody else to win it. Maybe it'd be funny for Tottenham to win it, just for the faces of Arsenal fans, if they fail to win it in this season. But I do think there's a very, very real possibility Manchester City could come out of this top 4. If they hit any sort of run, 2, 3, 4 games where they just get beat, it's over for them. And as long as we can pick up the slack, we'll sneak in a top 4 ahead of them, which would be absolutely hilarious, considering they're supposed to start dominating football from around about July this year, aren't they? So everyone else shouldn't really bother turning up after July, should they? Anyway, so there you go, that's today. I've waffled on for a lot longer than I expected to. I thought it was going to be a 5-minute thing, not a 15-minute thing. Let me know what you think in the comments about Cameron Borthwick-Jackson, our chances are top 4, who your man of the match was. Lingard's goal was fantastic, wasn't it? We barely even mentioned it. And that is it. loads of content coming out this week. Tomorrow I am on MUFC Daily for Full Time Devils. Then I'm on the podcast with Sun Goals with Ian Wright. Then I'm going to do a FIFA video. Tuesday I've got a footy manager update coming. I'm going shooting again this Thursday with one of my uncles. We've got United under-21s on Monday night tomorrow, and then against City on Thursday night. I'll be at both of those. Just loads of stuff coming out. Check out my Monday morning column tomorrow, where I'm going to look at Shaw and Cameron Borthwick-Jackson, I think, probably, in a little bit more depth. The youth review will be out for MUFC Latest, so check it out on the MUFC Latest website on Tuesday. So, shitloads of content coming out. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Well done for making it through 15 minutes me waffling shite, and I'll see you soon. Ta-da.